Welcome to Voices of Global Freedom Radio. We're broadcasting from San Diego, California, Saturday, March 28th, 2015. This is Backpack and our co-host Yoda. We bring our patriotic conservative audience news you can use and actionable tactics, methods, and strategies to survive and thrive in these dangerous, troubled times. We are proud to be syndicated with the popular radio networks, the Spark Radio Network, K98 Talk, and LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com. And we're among the top 5 news picks on Top Talk Radio, along with Sean Hannity, Rush Limbaugh, and other household names. We are honored and privileged today to have Phyllis Schlafly, who is the founder of and president of Eagle Forum, which reports on politics, educational, national defense, and important current events. She was named one of the 100 most important women of the 20th century by the Ladies' Home Journal and can be heard on over 600 stations. Yoda, how are you doing today?
If I was any better, Backpack, I would have to take something for it. Welcome, Mrs. Schlafly.
Well, thank you very much. I'm happy to join you.
It is our privilege. It is your show. We've promoted it extensively in advance, and you have a large audience eager to hear from you today. What would you like to talk about today?
Well, I think we might start off with all the damage that Obama's doing to this country. You know, when he got elected, he just said right out that he wanted to fundamentally transform the United States, and I'm afraid he's doing it. And he's getting by with so many things that are downright illegal, even unconstitutional, and we don't seem to have the congressmen who are willing to stand up and stop him from doing it.
He's sure doing one a day. We noticed that he's declassified a top-secret document exposing Israel's nuclear capabilities today. What do you anticipate in the next however many months it is? Is he going to get worse?
Yes, I think he's going to get worse, and he's going to do everything he can to change our country. He apparently doesn't like our Constitution, doesn't like the way the Founding Fathers set it up, doesn't like the religious basis. I never, when I was growing up, I never thought that free speech and freedom of religion would ever be big issues in our country. But he has made them issues because he's approved of efforts to try to shut us down.
But he's certainly pro-Islam by every action and deed he does, isn't he?
Yes, and I don't know that we get anywhere by trying to figure out what his motive is on that, but he certainly has the motive that he does not want America to be considered as superior or exceptional or the best country in the world. And I think that's what we are. I have been responsible numerous years for putting into the Republican Party platform the demand for military superiority. It's not enough for us to be the best or strong. We want to be the strongest in the country, in the world, so that our enemies will respect us and our friends will rely on us. And we do believe in military superiority, which is the best key to peace, not only for us, but for the whole world.
I'm an Air Force and an Army veteran. A lot of our audience are veterans, and we enthusiastically, wholeheartedly agree with you. What leaping ahead a little bit, we have some high echelon insider, because I've been at this so long, not as long as you have, but they're really concerned that he will implement martial law here for total control. Do you have an opinion about his goal as martial law?
Well, I think it's extraordinary that people are worried about that, because that's something we've never had to worry about. I think that really is kind of over the top. I'm just worried that he's getting by with so many things that he shouldn't get by with, and he acts like he can do whatever he wants. When he started out in the presidency, he created all these czars, and I think he thinks he's the top czar in this country. It's a different it's a different point of view. I mean, our Constitution says that we're governed by we the people, but that doesn't seem to have gotten to him at all.
It concerns people smarter than I am, smarter than Backpack even, but he doesn't seem to care about his image. I don't believe for a minute things like Guantanamo. I don't believe he's doing that just to fulfill a campaign promise or his silly legacy. I believe he has an ulterior motive for that, Mr. Schlafly.
Well, he let some of the worst guys out, and they went right back to fight and plot against us from people who want to destroy us. These are hardened criminals who've fought against, who waged war on us, and Guantanamo is a good place to keep them. I mean, we sure don't want them in Illinois or Missouri, where they might break out. Guantanamo is a good place to keep them. And you can't swim out and come back and attack us. But when he lets them loose and he exchanges them for I don't know what, that means that they can go back to fight us and do a lot of damage.
Which they're doing now, like you said. Imagine trading 5 commander levels for what's turned out to be one American deserter. Imagine.
Well, it makes no sense. And again, he's just making sure that the United States gets the bad side of the bargain.
Yeah, which of course brings us to Iran. We're now fighting against Iran in Yemen. We're fighting with Iran in Iraq. We're fighting against them in a part of Syria and with them in another part of Syria. We do a lot of articles for the MagnifiedView.com, our sister magazine. We're doing one now, or we will be on your gracious appearance for it. And it's really hard to conceive and write that we're fighting them and with them simultaneously.
Well, it just shows that I think the best thing you can say about him is that he's incompetent. He doesn't seem to know what he's doing at all. I don't think he's very smart. I don't know who's calling the shots. I think he's the only president we were never able to get his college grades. That seems a simple thing. I thought you were supposed to expose everything when you run for higher office. But we don't know if he had the grades to get into Columbia or get into Harvard Law School. I have one son who was on the Harvard Law School report with him, and he never wrote anything.
Oh, God.
Yeah,
wow. Oh, my God.
Classmates of the classes he purportedly attended.
There was a classmate of his in Columbia who said he never saw him. And yet he got his diploma at the same time that Obama did, and he just never saw him before graduation day.
Right. He was there under another name as well.
Well, he probably got in with...
Go ahead, man.
He probably got in with some special case for foreign students. And they didn't have to show the grades.
How many children do you have?
I have 6 children. And,
wow. They doing well?
They're all wonderful.
Great.
My wife raised 5 on her own. While managing a career, she raised 5 utterly on her own. Financially and every other way, they're doing well as well. They're all different, aren't they?
Yes, that's the one thing that is really most surprising to most parents, how different they are. We have three lawyers, and we have a mathematician, and the best business person is the girl. She's been very successful in business. She's built a business called Kitchen Conservatory, and she manages about 500 cooking classes every year. She doesn't give them all herself, but she manages these chefs. You know, the biggest prima donnas in the country are the male chefs. They're worse than opera stars.
Where is she located?
St. Louis.
We'll look her up. Conservative Chef, is that the name?
The name is Kitchen Conservatory.
We'll put her up on the magnified view. We'll include her in a blog roll.
Yeah, she's got a wonderful website.
Okay. Well, we'll stick her up on the magnified view.
You got to be able to spell Kitchen Conservatory, though.
I am multilingual and can't spell in any language. It's true.
Okay.
German has no silent sounds.
Oh.
I'm fluent in German, and I can't even spell in German. Thank heavens for spell check.
Well, I think we ought to insist on English as the American language. That's the language that binds us together. And I'm just extremely annoyed when I call up some business and they want to talk to me in some foreign language.
We are also, we work here with local police and with federal agencies. And I find that a lot of the Latinos have no desire to assimilate whatsoever. To the contrary, they're very bold and open about our assimilating to their culture, including language.
Well, I don't think that ought to be tolerated. You know, I have a lot of friends who were immigrants in the 20s and 30s, and they came here as children or teenagers, and they all can remember when they got off the boat at Ellis Island, their parents would say, now we're in America, and we're going to be Americans, and we're going to speak English, and this is our country now. And that's not the attitude of the people coming in now. And we don't want people to come. We're glad to welcome foreigners, but only if they want to be Americans.
Yeah, if I wanted to live in Mexico speaking Spanish, I would move there.
Right.
You can
but
be
I
out
don't.
in a... No, me too. You can be out in a police car in uniform, and they will tell you boldly they have no intention of learning English. Some of them graduate American high schools. That baffles me. How the heck they graduate an American high school without a word of English? But they do.
Well,
and more coming.
They teach them.
More coming every day.
We're paying to train teachers who teach them in other languages, and I don't think that ought to be allowed. In the previous generations, children came here from parents who didn't speak a word of English, and the kids went to public school, and the kids can pick up the language so much faster than the adults, and so they learned English, and then they came home and taught their parents. And that's the way we became a nation of people who shared our values, shared our language. That's very important.
And culture and mores and traditions. And
our emails and chat room are lighting up. We've had a question that's been on a lot of people's minds is Obama publicly insulted Christians at a recent prayer breakfast, which is unheard of for any American president. You know, what are your thoughts about that insulting
about
of Christians?
What? I missed something you said. What are my thoughts about what?
Recently, President Obama was at a prayer breakfast, and he insulted Christians publicly, and we want to hear your thoughts on that.
Yes, I think it's outrageous because if you know anything about American history, which now they're trying not to teach our kids, but anyway, if you do know anything about them, you know the Founding Fathers were all invoking God's help and blessings all the time, and do very publicly. They had some prayer services in the U.S. Capitol. They never opened a public meeting without prayer, and Obama sides with the atheists and the groups who want to wipe that out of our history and out of our culture, and we shouldn't let him do it. And when he went to the prayer breakfast, he forgot who they were praying to. When he gave a Thanksgiving address, he forgot who we were thanking, and it's just extremely unfortunate. I certainly never thought when I was growing up that we would see these attacks on not only on free speech but on our right to practice our religion.
What are your thoughts about all the Christians, now that we know Arab Spring became Arab Winter? Tens of thousands of Christians were killed across the Middle East that have been wiped out. Entire cities are gone now. What are your thoughts about that?
Well, it's shocking. It's just completely distressing, and it's clear that the Muslims are killing Christians every chance they get, and the idea that we should respect their religion is a religion that teaches them to kill people and is simply not something that's acceptable.
Our show is lighting up. We do have a caller. Area code 804 has been waiting patiently on the line. Area code 804, would you like to speak your mind?
Sure, go ahead.
Go ahead, area code 804. Okay, it looks like sometimes people call in and they're listening on the line. So this is really lighting up our board, this conversation, and where is all this going with him insulting all Christians, really a Christianity, by referring to the Crusades? And the Crusades were really a defensive. Most people, another one of our friends, Dr. Bill Warner, who we're going to have on, he's written extensively. He gets millions of views, and what the truth about the Crusades was it was a defensive maneuver in history. So what are your thoughts about that?
Well, they started out to reclaim the land that the Muslims had stolen. And it was defensive. And, of course, I've been in that great cathedral in Constantinople, and it was built as a Christian cathedral, and now it's been taken over by the Muslims. And yes, it was defensive, and it was 1,000 years ago, and to say that that's just something that we need to be apologizing for today is ridiculous, or that makes us like the Muslims in any way, and it was insulting. That's the best thing I can say, that Obama was insulting to all Christians.
Yeah, it was a big insult, and we've never heard of presidents that position. Some other things that we've seen as well is both the First Lady and President, when they go to other countries, they're not following the protocol. They're dressing, inappropriately, and they're doing the wrong gestures. I mean, he met with the Saudi king, and he did a full bow. What are your thoughts of some of the protocol?
That's right. Americans don't bow to anybody.
Oh man!
I don't know. In such cases, he really doesn't look like an American at all, and but there's so many ways that he is helping to destroy our country, and I would say his plan to give amnesty to 5 million people coming in is just so shocking. And I think the real purpose of it is to line them up for Democratic votes. And that's what they want to do, because, once they come in and once he gives them driver's licenses and Social Security cards, there's no way to stop them from getting registered to vote. And once they get registered to vote, there's no way to get them off the record for being voters. And then they'll line them up and tell them how to vote.
We work with the Border Patrol here on the border, Arizona and Texas. And he's had the hero agents and lady agents' hands tied for a couple years now. And there's a new wave right now of Latinos coming across.
Well, sure. They hear about this amnesty, they think they'll come and join the party.
Exactly. Many of them now are bringing dread diseases over that we haven't seen in decades.
Well, that's right. The diseases coming in are outrageous, and of course, he should have closed our ports of entry to anybody who had Ebola. And but they're bringing in other diseases like TB that we haven't seen in years, and the incurable kind, and all sorts of diseases. And they're going into the public schools with them and infecting our own kids. And they just have no... He's not protecting America against an invasion. That's the first job of the government, is to protect us against invasion. And when all those kids came in, they let the press make people believe they were just like babes in arms. But most of them were tough teenagers. A lot of them had gang backgrounds, and they should have put them on buses and sent them right back the day they came, the day they arrived.
They caught 60 MS-13 gang members crossing the border since October, and nobody has an accurate estimate of how many they didn't catch. As you would know, Mrs. Schlafly, they're an absolutely evil, brutal gang, brutality for its sake. They're kind of like ISIS in a way. And they've caught 60 of those on our side of the border now since October.
Well, are they going to send them back?
No, they're spread out all over the country now.
You know, what they do is say, we'll give you a paper, and 6 months from now you're supposed to show yourself up in front of a judge. And so they disappear.
Backpack broke an interesting story. When you get time, please take a look at the magnifiedview.com. What's the title of that piece, Rick?
We have broken a story about U.S. Islamic infiltration in the United States with several other really renowned people as well, such as Bethany Blankley with Fox News. We're seeing well over at least 35 terror camps all across the United States that are Islam, and our DHS and FBI are not allowed to open reports on them because they can't use the word Islam, but they're sleeper cells, and they live in these communal, mostly rural areas, but their corporate headquarters is Islamburg, New York. We recently had Ryan Morrow with Clarion Project on a previous show. It's really something to be aware of, but the website is called www.terrorcamps.com and exposes a lot of articles, numerous articles written by many news sources. What has been your experience with that? Also, just to add quickly, is the Dearborn, Michigan has now become 45% Somalia refugees, and it's become, they're talking about Sharia law in Irving, Texas, and things like that. What are your thoughts, Ms. Schlafly, on all of this?
Well, I think it's an outrage, and I think it's part of Obama's plan to destroy our country. I understand there are areas in London that the police are not allowed to go because Sharia law rules, and they've really tried to keep the police out of some of the areas where they've concentrated some of these immigrants. And I don't think we ought to let anybody in unless they want to be Americans and want to adopt our culture and our language. And I don't think we ought to defer to them. The idea that we should let their kids go in our schools and bring their diseases and their languages and everything else is just wrong. We don't owe the rest of the world of that, and there are too many people in the rest of the world who'd like to come here.
We personally know Border Patrol officers that are afraid to go home. They're staying in hotels. Lest they infect their families with, whatever they picked up from these people. There's just a host of infectious diseases. Actually, it's where measles, the current outbreak of measles, one of the most infectious diseases known, came from. It was The zero case, the vector case, was a Latino food worker in Disneyland. And that's spreading. I haven't followed that the last couple of days, but that's spreading around the country now.
Well, that's right, and there's no reason why we should let these diseases in. You know, the original rules for immigrants coming to this country when they were coming through Ellis Island and a few ports of entry like that, they had to be free of disease, and they had to be free of a criminal record, and especially they had to prove that they were not going to become what was called a public charge. In other words, they had to identify that they weren't going to go on welfare as soon as they got here. And now they come in and they immediately go on welfare. You know, the Boston bombers came in under a phony asylum persecution claim and then immediately picked up $100,000 in welfare benefits.
Voices of Global Freedom. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifiedView.com. We have Phyllis Schlafly, who's been a national leader of the conservative movement since the publication of her best-selling 1964 book, A Choice, Not an Echo. Would you like to speak to this award-winning book?
Yes, I would, because we sold 3 million copies in 1964, and that is really what invented the conservative movement, because it taught people that we could nominate the grassroots choice instead of the choice for president, who was picked by the big money group that we called the kingmakers. And now we have the same problem again, and it is an example of what can be done. And I have a new edition which brings the story up to date, because the original book only came up to 1964 with a chapter on every Republican convention. And now I brought it up to date, and I've shown all the shenanigans that the kingmakers have gone through in convention after convention, so we have to be prepared. And I think the grassroots have got to take over. And the fight is in the Republican Party, because we hope a Republican will be elected to replace Obama when his term expires. But you have to know the fight you're up against, and that's what my book tells you, A Choice, Not an Echo.
What do you think about the Tea Party in general, Mrs. Chaplin?
Well, I think the Tea Party was a very welcome movement and very necessary, and they are grassrooters. I think they were harmed because they didn't have a leader to direct them. But at any rate, they're out there and they're waiting for some leadership. And I hope that the American people will realize that we can elect a choice, not an echo of all this bunch of losers they've been giving us year after year.
As Backpack said, you really lit up our emails. I think little wisps of smoke are going to come out of the computer. A lady, Virginia, in Rockford, Illinois, wants your opinion on where is the feminist movement against Islam? Why aren't they speaking up against Islam?
Yeah, but because they're too busy claiming that American women are mistreated, which of course is nonsense, because American women are the most fortunate class of people who ever lived on the face of the earth. And they're women who wake up in the morning believing they are victims of the patriarchy. And of course, if that's your attitude toward life, you're not going to be happy, and they're not happy. Most of them are very unhappy women, and always complaining that somebody else is to blame for whatever their problem is. But I think the feminist movement is pretty well discredited now, and I hope that people will realize that men are very helpful, and marriage is a good thing, and men are not the enemy. And so we want to be able to select our next president and not just have to take another loser chosen by the big guys.
Ms. Schlafly has been the leader of the pro-family movement since 1972. led to victory over the principal legislation goal of the radical feminists called the Equal Rights Amendment. What was it like to be in those times and getting rid of the Equal Rights Amendment?
Well, it was a 10-year battle that nobody thought we could win. And we had everybody against us, three presidents' wives, all the media, even Hollywood, all the organizations, lots of money. And we, the grassroots, rose up and beat them all. And it was thought to be an impossible task. But anyway, it's just such a good example of how the conservatives can win if they focus in on what the problem is and go after it in a smart way.
Well, it's we also see you've got a monthly newsletter called the Phyllis Schlafly Report. It's in its 41st year. What are some of the words of wisdom to our audience that speak to this monthly newsletter?
Well, I discuss most of the big issues that are confronting our country. The issues of military superiority, the issues of the attack on marriage, the social issues, the national security issues, and I guess my boast about writing is I give you more facts in fewer words than anything in print. So it's something that's handy that people can use to pass around and rise up to the grassroots, and we can win, and we can win the next election if the people listening to this program will realize that you're needed, and we need to get behind a good candidate and make sure he and the congressmen and senators we want get reelected.
You wanted to ask what she thought of Congressman Cruz?
What were your thoughts on, we just heard President or Congressman Ted Cruz, I guess I'm being premature, but his chances of becoming the next president?
Well, I'm not ready to select the person that I'm ultimately going to back yet, but I can tell you it's not going to be Jeb Bush, and it's not going to be somebody selected by the kingmakers. It's going to be somebody who understands that the hottest issues at the grassroots today are this amnesty that Obama is trying to enforce on us, and we want a candidate who is all out against that. And also, we haven't had time to discuss it. Maybe we can do that another time. The issue of Common Core, which is the big guys trying to take over the education of our children. And this has caused people to really kind of come out of the woodwork in a way I have never seen. People are very upset about what they're teaching and not teaching our kids, and we want all of our candidates to take pledges to be against amnesty and against Common Core.
Well, we've gotten a lot of emails, and our board is lit up. But at the Common Core, we're having a show with the Secretary of Education, a lady who worked there for years, on May the 2nd. She's coming on, and she's saying it's the Communist Core is the word she's coining.
Wow.
How would you
Good
feel
for her.
about that? Yeah. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's bad, and the public is against it. All right. Well, it's great to visit with you, and for further information, you can go on my website, eaglefarm.org.
We are eager to get you back on again, Mrs. Schlafly. As Backpack has said, you've really lit up our board. The intelligent conservative audience has really valued your appearance with us today. We sincerely appreciate it. We want to get you back soon. How are we going to get you back?
Well, you can call me anytime. I'm very easy to reach. And I'll be glad to come back another time.
How do we reach you?
Well, you reach me tonight. I'm sure your producer has got my telephone number.
Also, I'm going to hit you up for a personal favor. My son's wife is a fan of yours. She's in Phoenix, Arizona. I'm going to hit you up for an autograph book. She would really value that, Mr. Schlafly. I'll send that to you via email.
All right. Send it to pschlafly@charter.net.
pschlafly@charter.net. I indeed will.
All
I'm
right.
not trying to get out. We're going to buy some books, but this is about your autograph.
Okay, I'll be glad to do that. Be sure and put that in your email.
Thank you kindly, and it's been a great show, and we're going to pester you to come back soon.
All right.
Thank you so much. It's been
God
an
bless
honor.
you,
And, God bless
thanks
you.
for having me on.
Thank you.
God bless you,
Have
and thank you.
Thank you.
All right, goodbye.
Bye. Have a great day.
Okay, bye.
Bye. Energy Efficiency Pros, EE Pros, solutions that save you money. Are you a commercial business looking to reduce costs on your energy bill? Replacing traditional light bulbs with LED results in tremendous savings every month. Commercial, industrial, and manufacturing facilities from coast to coast are saving up to 90% on their skyrocketing costs of energy. Energy costs are rising every month. Using EE Pros lighting saves money, time, and will bring you happier employees and customers. For a free audit, please consult and evaluation of your facility. Please contact our dear friend Don Arrigo, president of EE Pros, at 480-585-9161. I say again, 480-585-9161. And tell Don that Backpack of Voices of Global Freedom Radio referred you. Also, please check out his website. It's www.eepros.com. I say again, eepros.com.
What a show.
That was a great show. We held off on commercials exclusively to have Miss Schlafly and have her honor and grace with us. It was a wonderful show.
Is she the Grand Dame of America or what?
Yes, she has been considered the main leader of the whole conservative movement, which is an incredible accolade, and among the top 100 most influential women of all time. I mean, just incredible.
My word.
Background.
You'll observe, partner, I hit her up for a book for my son's wife. You'll notice that.
Yeah, that's great. Yeah, it's wonderful. So what an honor. And we're still kind of breathless having guests of this caliber that we've had on this show. Isn't it incredible?
Oh, we're the luckiest host in the world, aren't we?
We really are. It's incredible.
Who's on our current lineup, Backpack? What's going on out there in the future?
Well, we're excited to have Mr. Michael Connolly, and we're expecting our good friend Stryker to call in shortly. I think we all have mutual connections and friends, but he is a well-known constitutional lawyer. He's working on several cases that are impacting the constitutionality of the United States, and he'll be on April the 11th. We're also excited about having the Anthem Girl. She goes down in the Book of Records Hall of Fame, and Ripley's, believe it or not, of having sung the national anthem in 50 states. It's going to coming up next Saturday, April the 4th. A great show. We remind callers always 646-652-4667 is our call-in number, and that's always available every Saturday, 4 p.m. Pacific to 5:30 p.m. Pacific. And we're excited to have the national anthem girl. She has just really done some amazing things. She's sung in front of stadiums with 50,000 people, been on numerous Fox News and many other radio shows. It's a really good feeling story that we really desperately needed. We've been on numerous shows, Yoda and Backpack, and we discussed what happened after 9/11, how everybody was running around with the American flag and flying it on the rooftops and on their cars everywhere, and how we need more of this types of stories like the national anthem girl, and the really feel good about patriotism and feel good about this country once again. We desperately need this. And what are your thoughts, Yoda?
Oh, I got a kick out of it. She sang from the bridge of a Coast Guard cutter.
Yeah. Wow.
The Coast Guard let her drive the cutter around for a while.
Yeah, that's incredible.
Quite a gal. Who else we got coming on, brother?
We also are excited to have coming up Frank Gaffney with the Centers for Security Policy. He'll be coming up on the 18th. And we're also having one of the guys who's known as the most aware, let's say, of the Islam, Chris Logan. He'll be coming out. And May the 2nd is going to be a huge show about Common Core and really what's really going on. We have Peg, who will be coming on talking about that, and she's very well known about this and working for the Secretary of Education, and she has a doctorate in education. She's extremely concerned. She told us some insider info that by the time a person is in the 8th grade, it will be decided what they will be, what they will turn out to be. And she pointed out people such as Dr. Ben Carson, who is one of a renowned neuroscientist, often on Fox. He would probably end up as a gardener under Common Core. What are your thoughts about that?
He would indeed. Wonder how many parents are really aware of what's going on with their kids in these schools today.
That's a great question, Yoda, because one of the things that she revealed, too, is that the kids are not allowed to tell their parents under Common Core. There's a lot of things that go on, like they're forced to learn Arabic and pray on the rug 5 times a day, but they can go back and tell their parents what happened in the classroom.
I was outraged today. I don't know about this, there's a body mass weight against how much it should weigh. One of these damn schools recently sent a 2nd grade girl home. She was actually fit as she could be. They sent a note home with her saying she was fat. Can you imagine what that would do to the psyche of the little girl in the 2nd? What the hell is the matter with these teachers today, Roy?
Yeah, it's really just amazing. We just can't believe that. There's also a report I just read yesterday about a young man who's about 6 years old, and he's going to school, and he has a military haircut because one of his older brothers in the military, and he had a military haircut on, and he is forbidden. He's sent home with a note saying you're not allowed to have a military haircut to support your troops, and that's a true story that just happened. That's been making a lot of news waves, and so his mom had to completely. Can you believe that?
But in Arabic, you can pledge allegiance to Allah. In Arabic, mind you.
Wow. It's just unbelievable what's going on out there. But a large part of Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifyView.com, we bring the news that the lamestream media is not talking about. We've had news, insider information that has really been, really mind-opening. Our last guest, Mr. Reed, we can talk to that, who was on last weekend. He gave us news that's unbelievable. What were some of your takeoffs from W. Craig Reed's interview?
I thought it's extraordinary. The Submariner. My submarines would have to have a screen door and windows, but anyway. Submarines were used since they were invented for espionage. Sailor Swabby Reed did some fascinating espionage operations in the Cold War against the Soviet Union. One I was intrigued by, Russia ran a cable off Vladivostok under a harbor between 2 military points. And as it was a cable running between the 2 points, it wasn't secure. Unbelievably, one of our submarines snuck into their harbor and stuck some gadget on the cable underwater, intercepted all their communications, for years. He told a story of one of our interceptors, fluent in Russian, heard an admiral talking to his wife. He was relaying this to the handlers aboard the ship. And then he said, "No, wait. Now he's talking to his girlfriend."
Yeah. That's amazing. One of those things that you just can't imagine that happens out there. You know, sometimes what happens in real life can be stranger than what we see in the movies. You know, it's just amazing what goes on.
Years ago, I was in northern Turkey on an intercept. We were intercepting Russian tanks over the border. We had an interpreter, and a strange noise came over the thing. I had no idea what it was and asked. It was actually a Russian tank commander shaving with an electric razor.
Wow.
What a world.
Yeah, it's amazing. So we've got an exciting lineup. It's just been an incredible time, and we're excited to have so many other groundbreaking guests that are, it's all part of Voices, to hear the voices heard of the conservative, patriotic audience that we have.
How did you get onto these terrorist camps throughout these Islamic Muslim terrorist training camps back then?
Well, I started learning about it from mutual interviews, talking to the people that we see on Fox News and all the newsbreakers, and they have revealed these sources to us, but we also have Christian Action Network and many other, Pamela Geller, many other very well-known household name people who are out there every day doing so much to save the Republic, and they gave the information and came up with the idea to have a website called terrorcamps.com, which is featured on magnifiedview.com, along with a strategic alliance of toptalkradio.com and Leading Edge Radio Network. I believe we do have Stryker that calling in, area code 682. This is Stryker. How are you doing, my friend?
Hey, good evening, good afternoon, depending upon where everybody is at the moment. Good evening to Backpack Yoda and all the listeners.
Welcome, Brother Stryker. Did you hear Mrs. Schlafly? Did you have that opportunity?
I unfortunately was celebrating my wife's birthday today, and for me to have missed Phyllis Schlafly, oh my Lord, it hurts my heart dearly. I did have the chance to interview Mrs. Schlafly back in, I won't be too specific, but let's just say about 1992, 1993, when I did a little stint at a particular other network. And she is she not just the greatest, absolute greatest?
90 years old. My word. We mentioned, tell your wife the very best of the best. May she live as long as she wants to and wants to as long as she lives, Stryker.
Yeah, happy birthday.
Thank you very much. She's sitting right next to me now, and I know that she appreciates those wonderful birthday wishes. And you gentlemen, I know you've been quite busy getting ready for Mr. Schlafly's interview, and I, of course, have the distinct honor and privilege of replaying this show on the Leading Edge Radio Network. And thank you again for all that you do for our network and all that you do for everyone in the intelligence community, in the communities of just average America. I don't think people realize to what extent the work that you do in the counterterrorism and IC community, as well as the normal everyday neighborhoods, that we all live in. Some of us, like my friend Joe in Missouri, he's got a wonderful place to live there. In fact, he says anytime things get bad, he says, come out here with us. We're in the middle of nowhere. So let's hope it doesn't come down to that. We're going to do our best to make sure that it doesn't come down to that.
The problem of middle of nowhere is getting there. What most
Amen.
of the audience, most of the audience, even the hardcore preppers, don't understand is within an hour of an event, natural or man-made disaster, there is total gridlock. I've been out in a police car, siren and the disco light lit up, and couldn't go anywhere in that. So I'm concerned with these people that have their case 100 miles away. I promise they're not going to get there. Why would you leave all your good stuff anyway? You know, these people,
I agree.
They've prepared in their homes. Then they leave all that to go live in a pop-up tent, 100 miles away in the woods. I've never understood that. Tell us about the network, if you will. We're so thrilled to be on part of that network, aren't we, back there?
Yeah, we're honored and privileged to be part of Leading Edge Radio Network. It's a great combination of all our skills and expertise and knowledge.
Well, gentlemen, Leading Edge, as you may have heard me say a time or two, this network was really, it was born out of necessity. We do have a music station on Channel 2 now to go with that. If you get too fatigued from 24 hours a day of all talk, our shows like Backpack and Yoda are absolutely global voices. Just who can ever get tired of that? I know I don't. But if they do get fatigued, they can kind of check us out on Channel 2 there at Leading Edge Radio Network, or even Channel 3, and maybe they need a little preaching, teaching, or Christian music. But the network, the whole concept behind it was to make sure that people had not only a voice, but that they also had something that they could listen to that would actually help them, make it through the day, if you will. You can't always get your news from one source. You have to use several sources, and of course we do. We have a lot of people in and out of the intelligence community, and of course in and out of the counterterrorism community, who really keep up with things. And sometimes it gets it gets a little hurtful when people say, well, look, Brother Greg, I didn't hear this, of course, didn't hear this thing on such and such news or such and such network. When you run 2 or 3 days ahead of time with the news, people look at you a little funny. You guys, I'm sure you've run into that problem before, haven't you?
Oh, have we ever? A personal note, that country, we have a contact in that Middle Eastern country you mentioned, but we dare not contact him or her in country. We have to wait until they go to Europe to hang out for a while. Just a personal note.
Oh, of course, I understand. And the note that was that precipitated that little piece of question, and thank you for the answer on that. That situation changed really, really fast. In fact, so fast that it was probably a good thing it changed when it did, because it could have changed the landscape. And it's going to be a very interesting yet tumultuous time there in the Middle East. But the bottom line is we're hoping and praying and also believing that with this power vacuum that's happening over there, that ultimately the people who are there, that they will protect the oil fields, and that this coalition will get together and make sure that things, because one of the things that rolled across my desk this week, we had originally we had maybe somewhere on the order of 3,000 ISIS in the United States. Now, of course, we know for a fact that they're in places like Houston and San Antonio. And there, of course, was an article that came out recently talking about the threats on various Texas cities and a few other cities across the country. But late Friday night, it was discovered that 3,000 is a number that is in error. We're looking at 110,000 people who are loyal to ISIS or are involved in ISIS here in the U.S., and this is in all 50 states. So this problem is not just exclusive to Texas or California, is nationwide, all 50.
FBI director came out recently saying they're running cases in all the states. They're running Islamic terrorist cases in each and every one of our states. Send us that article, please, Stryker. We'll get it up in the magnified view.
Wonderful. The only article that I have at present would be the one that made reference to some threats in Texas and a couple of other locations. This obviously this newest information that I received was I'll let you guys kind of figure that one out about how that one can be disseminated, but perhaps for another time. But certainly we have more than enough problems in America to go around, and we will certainly send you everything possible to help get people warned and even more wide awake. Does one want to get up off the couch a little faster, doesn't it?
It does. What's your thought about a coming terrorist attack on commerce in the United States? Right?
Well, gentlemen, I don't want to sound terminal about the subject, but I believe that is their intention. I believe that for them, a successful attack could be one person. It could be, every time you see a car run over a group of people at a gathering, generally you can kind of figure that out, what happened and who's behind it. The airplane scenario, I know that the mainstream media has done their best to say, well, this individual was simply just having a mental problem. But our information indicates that he had been attending a mosque for the last 6 months, and I think we can kind of all see through that. And naturally, the flying public would do a lot less flying if they thought that every time they got on an airplane, they were rolling the dice, wondering if there was a Muslim pilot or someone who was maybe, let's say, loyal to that group or any type of an extremist group.
Or a Muslim shrink at Fort Hood.
Yeah.
Yes, absolutely. Workplace violence, right, guys? It's always
right.
Workplace
We just
violence.
got a call from Southern Sense. We have the host of the well-known Southern Sense radio show. How are you doing?
I'm doing just fine. Scotch in hand, I'm great.
Welcome to the show. How are you doing, Annie?
I'm fine. Like I said, Scotch in hand, I'm doing fine.
I've got a pack of coffee in one hand and a cup of cigarettes in the other, Annie. I wanted to introduce you to Stryker, who's running a network that you'd be interested in, Annie, through your show. Say hello to Stryker.
All right. Well, hello, Stryker. Matter of fact, I have your information sitting directly behind me. And yesterday I was supposed to be making phone calls to bring people in and schedule for interviews. You're in that stack.
Well, I certainly feel privileged for that. And, Annie, it's certainly a pleasure to get an opportunity to speak with you. And is it just Annie or is it six-pack Annie?
I am not that big, so no.
Well, that was more of that was a gun joke there. That wasn't any, that had nothing to do with scotch in hand.
Well, you know me 5 minutes and already I get the fat jokes.
Oh, no.
Annie's a former copper out of New York's finest, Stryker, and her mother called her streetwalker. You gotta love it.
Oh my. Well, Annie, these guys will tell you. Yoda and Backpack will tell you that I am not one to ever insult anyone, and not even accidentally. So,
I've got you on the ropes already.
You do. Yes.
Got him right.
Maybe I should. If I'd said 6-shot, Annie, you probably would have set me up and said I don't drink that many things at one time. So
no, I would have said I carry an automatic, not a revolver.
Okay. When you said revolver, I could hear the New York accent.
I'm still a revolver guy, Annie.
Well, actually, I've got both.
Well, that's what I've got. It works every time. Annie, her first beat was remember the famous Serpico, Stryker?
Absolutely.
Her first beat was
that building was my very first foot post straight out of the academy. It was Christmas week. Yep. It was right around the Christmas holidays, and I was out there maybe 20 minutes, and I had my first collar.
Tell us about it.
That is amazing.
Well, it was on, trying to remember now, Driggs Avenue, between Division and Broadway, and the building was still abandoned, burnt out, junkie haven. And on one side, you've got the Hasidim, and on the other side, you've got Black and Hispanic. And here comes walking through the neighborhood some little old white kid from what we call bumfuck New York, out in the east end of Long Island. He did not belong there. Talk about profiling. And he actually tried to pick me up.
Great story.
Absolutely.
Yeah, he went on a date with handcuffs. A man's fantasy.
Did you walk the beats alone, or were there two of you?
The foot posts are normally alone, but when they take you straight out of the academy, the first few weeks they have someone that goes with you, so you get a little accustomed to what's going on. And then later on, you are walking foot posts alone, but there's always someone within the shadow of your voice. They know that the rookies are out there, so they take care of us. And later on, once you're officially into a unit or a command, you walk the foot post alone. Alone.
How big a post?
Well, if you know what a New York City block is, they normally encompass between 2 and 3 city blocks.
Where you get to know everybody.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, I had one on Graham Avenue in Brooklyn. It was actually a punishment post, but by the time I got done and taken off of my punishment post, the people on that area actually turned around and wrote a letter to the command to have me stay there permanently, because I knew every single store owner. I knew when what we called brownies, the traffic enforcement people, would come through and start writing tickets for parking or abandoned vehicles. And I knew when they would come, and I'd warn them, hey, here, they're coming, move your car now so you don't get a ticket. To me, that's a chump ticket. If it's an abandoned or stolen vehicle, I'm going to get it out of there. If it's just overnight parking and you're about 15 minutes late, who cares? You're a hardworking slob, And I would warn them, which would piss off the brownies. So, yeah, it was an interesting time.
Not to trump you, I knew a candy store. And back in the day, a candy store was located underneath a bookie joint that everybody knew of. I would pull up a marked car. They would fill up the trunk with candy that was dated or whatever. I'd go into the project, government housing. I'd open the trunk and we'd have a good time. But I think I I broke about 14 regulations. How did you get How did you get a punishment beat? What did you do?
Oh, that's a long story, and it's something
Well,
that cost me 2 weeks vacation. So, if you don't have a mark on your record, then you're not doing your job.
with the feds we work with, the good feds look at it this way. They put it on a balance scale. If their commendations equal their censure letters, they don't care. Do you hear that one, Stryker?
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
No,
So,
it's
Annie,
interesting. Go ahead.
Annie, one of the questions that's come in recently is here on Voices of Global Freedom Radio, and you've been a host with, you can insert how many years have you done Southern Sense, and what inspired you to start a radio station?
Oh, wow. This year, this June, I'll be, June or August, it would be 5 years now. I actually deleted a couple of the first shows that I did because they were really bad. But I started here on Blog Talk Radio in June, so it'll be 5 years this year. And I have to say it was because of a drunken evening. My husband and a friend of his thought up the idea of doing a radio show. They wanted to do a blues show. And I said, all right, let me see how I can put this together for you. You know, I support my husband in anything he wants to do, as long as it's legal. And I did a little information. I came across Blog Talk Radio, and I said, let me check it out. And I set up the feed and everything else. And my husband and I did a couple of broadcasts together. And people started calling in, and they didn't want to hear the comedic things we were doing. They didn't want to hear music or anything like that. They wanted to ask and talk about political items. This is now 2010. Obama's already, doing his stick. And we said, all right, fine, let's start talking, politics. And as it went through the years, it just grew from like a 30-minute show into now a 2-hour show. And as of the last few days, I was looking on Blog Talk Radio, and I'm number one in political conservative. And that's a lot of hard work, 5 years in doing it.
Wow, that's great. Congratulations.
Similarly,
absolutely impressive.
Anniversary of the MagnifiedView.com magazine coming up April 11th. How did you get inspired to do the current network?
Well, in 2005, the year before I went out to play professional golf full time, it had always been a dream of mine to do a radio network because way back, I'm giving my age away here, but way back in 78, my first year of radio at the age of 17, I really did not get to fulfill the goals that I wanted to, in radio. So I didn't particularly want to show as much as I wanted to, have a network and offer broadcasters, a nice platform to be able to broadcast on. So at that point, I had the network actually up for sale within the first year that I had it, because the gentleman who is actually taking the company public now for me wanted to buy the network. So he let a board member talk him out of it, and the long and the short of it was, after I went and played the tour for a while, we shelved the network. But, the idea never left me, at least for the oldies station. And then I let somebody talk me into doing an all-talk station. So that's how Leading Edge Radio Network was born. And so now we have the 3 networks, and pretty soon our 4th will be coming up here pretty quick, I'd say within the next 2 weeks or so.
Tell our audience about the all-military, all-law enforcement network that you're working on. This is incredible. I think there's nobody else doing this.
Well, they could beat us to it, but if they do, God bless them, we're okay with that. LERN is the Leading Edge Radio Network, but, one day I was looking at the acronym for it, and I said, Law Enforcement Radio Network. Oh, that might be kind of interesting. So combine that with an all-military channel, all law enforcement network channel. Could be just a just a dynamite combination for people who just can't get enough of military and law enforcement. And so many programs are geared in this direction already. So we're quite excited. I think we're probably less than 30 days away on making that a reality. And of course, we'll want to take backpack Yoda and Annie with us as well. So I don't know, Annie, we're pretty persuasive. So I hope Blog Talk can keep you, because we've had a few jumping ship. So anyway.
Well, I'll tell Yoda and Backpack to feel free to give you my phone number and email, and give me a shout if you want. We'll talk tomorrow afternoon. I'm New York time. Excuse me. So I get home from church around 12:30. So anything around 1 o'clock is great.
I'll give you time to eat lunch, and we'll keep it where we don't tear up your day. I know we'll be attending church tomorrow as well, and we're an hour behind you.
All right, because tomorrow's Palm Sunday.
Yes, that's right. It certainly is. And I'm watching. I'm in a parking space now where it's nice and safe, and people are pulling in and out of spaces. And you might have heard the horn honk a few minutes ago, but it wasn't me honking at anybody, and they weren't honking at me. It was some lady trying to find her car in the parking lot. Talk about a great show for situational awareness, huh?
Oh, my goodness. I've got to tell you something, though, because, I am disabled, and Stryker, I'm a couple of years older than you. Not much, but a few. But I have a handicap parking permit, but I also have the handicap plates. And here in the state of South Carolina, they put our face on the parking permit, and that drove me crazy. I wrote to every single senator, I wrote to every single state legislator, telling them how bad the idea of having the face on the parking permit, because their whole big thing is that they want to make sure the person parking in the handicap parking is really handicapped. All right, I like the idea. I like, making sure that, people that really need it have it. But putting the face on it, and I try to explain to them how many situations could arise, because all you need is a perp to walk past the car, look at the face, and then wait for that person to, say, walk into a restroom or be standing alone or something like that, and have themselves attacked. So finally I got them to agree to allow us to cover our face. So I ride around with a roll of masking tape in my car, and every time I see someone else with a parking permit, I tear off a piece of tape. I explain to them how they can cover their face, and by South Carolina law, only a police officer can ask them to remove it, and then they can put it back on as soon as they're verified. Situations like that, and as you're talking about, a woman looking for her car, it drives me crazy. And you can hear the New Yorker in me.
One we teach, Annie, as you would know, women get in their car, they sit there with the motor running, they pre-flight it, they put on makeup. They are absolute targets for the bad guy parked next to them in a van. I don't know what else they do. Well,
Number one, they never look in the back seat. Before you get in your car, look in the back.
Yeah.
Yes, and down in Texas here, we've heard cases where they would hide underneath the car. Talking about low-life scum, that really takes it to the next level. But, situational awareness, looking in that back seat, seeing who's around you, looking underneath a car or a truck. If you think there's something wrong, there probably is.
Exactly.
I haven't heard the underneath, Stryker. Get into that a little bit, if you will.
Yeah, because that's something new, too, to me.
Well, that may be a thing that's just exclusive to Texas, but, people drive trucks down here. So, it's probably a lot easier to fit underneath a pickup truck than it might be another type of vehicle that sits a little lower to the ground, such as a Mercedes or otherwise. But, if it's dark outside, you're not going to be looking underneath to see what's happening there. You're going to be looking, chances are, at tire level and above to see what's happening. So you want to make sure that you have your eyes going in many different directions, and being situationally aware, as we all know, is a very good thing. You know, keys in hand is good. A little mace in hand, probably not a bad idea either. I know there are some women who will go out to their cars. You know, literally they'll put their hand on their firearm in their purse, and oh my, if somebody bothers them, they will be hurting.
Oh, you just touched something that really is another sore subject. Never put your firearm in the purse. Have complete control of that weapon at all times. I hear women carrying in their purse, and it drives me nuts. I mean, there are people that will put them in their pockets, and I have to admit, I've got a blue jean jacket. It's got an inside pocket, so I normally will throw my little 25 in there or something, and I have it as if it's in a holster. Either that, it is on my waist. I don't.
Oh, you're absolutely right, Annie. Yes,
you
are absolutely right. Yes, because you know what? Most times when you're in parking lots at grocery stores and shopping, they want the purse usually more than they want the individual. So with the gun and purse, you know, unless you've got a backup in your pocket, which Annie, you probably do, and I know Backpack and Yoda probably have two backups, but you know, the fact is, the gun in the purse is probably not obviously the best place you could put that. Chances are, you know, if they cut the purse off of your arm or you struggle for it and they end up with it, wow, not only do they have your firearm and your name and address and the whole nine, but they get your purse and your money.
Yeah, the best place is to have it on your waist and practice reaching for it. Practice the draw, so that when you are in a situation, it comes out smooth and even. And that way you know that as you practice the draw, you're lifting it out, you're releasing the safety catch on it, and you're pulling the slide. Practice that.
We used to keep
Absolutely.
We kept a couple of speed strips in the right pocket of a blazer. So if you kick your hip out to the left, presuming you're right-handed, the weight in your pocket would move the coat out of your way to draw the gun. Another one we did is we took a pistol with a hammer shroud, a revolver with a thing that wouldn't catch on clothing. We went to Goodwill, got a bunch of cheap jackets, and we practiced firing through the pocket of these things at 11 feet. Which coincidentally is where most city combat occurs. Anyway, we got pretty good.
Between 7 to 10 feet, yeah.
Yeah, we got pretty good at that. You could hold a pretty good circle at 11 feet through your pocket. So I still do that, actually. And as Stryker said, I've got redundancy for the redundancy. Is this a great impromptu?
Yeah, this is great. We're having a wonderful time. The Voices of Global Freedom, MagnifyView.com. We're honored and privileged to have Stryker, LeadingEdgeRadioNetwork.com, and SouthernSense.com, Annie, on. One of the things breaking news that we have, Yoda and Backpack, we're working actually on creating a personal safety and security seminar that will become a series of webinars that we'll have out on the Internet very shortly. So we're working on that as we speak. Isn't that exciting, Yoda, what we're working on?
It is. We were called on this, guys, by officers and firefighters who are obviously called out with a disaster. This evolved from first instructing their wives and kids what to do while their husband or wife was away saving the Republic. We've done it for years. Since then, we've done it at public meetings, churches, civic groups, and like that. It's well thought of. We pass out an anonymous questionnaire with groups, and we've gotten good results from it. It covers personal safety in a car, in your home, in your place of business, identity theft. Yeah, we're looking hard at a webinar. What do you think, Stryker and Annie?
I'll let Annie go first.
I've never ever done a webinar, honestly. So I would say it would be an interesting way to go.
Riker?
I think it's a wonderful idea. Particularly in the area of risk management, there's all kinds of scenarios that you can get into with webinars. I learned some really interesting things from former CIA guy, Jason Nansen, who has a little E&E, escape and evade kind of thing, and we don't want this to fall into the wrong hands, because it wouldn't be good for law enforcement for people to know how to get out of a pair of handcuffs, with just some little simple thing. But one of the things that, and also somebody tries to kidnap you and lock you in the trunk, how to get out of that duct tape. We don't want the bad guys really to know. Go ahead and keep binding people up with duct tape. That's fine. That's no problem. It's easy to get out of. So we can probably teach a few techniques like that would be kind of fun. I don't think anybody would mind. But as far as the idea, gentlemen, that's absolutely stellar.
And one of the things about the seminar will be it's information that nobody else is teaching right now. It's some of the unique things that one of the things is if a single woman living alone is to have go to Goodwill and buy some old work boots and a jacket and put it outside the door, so it shows anybody walking to the door that there's a man living there. That's one of the many tips that we have that we haven't heard on other sources.
No, that I happen to that I believe on one of your writings, or maybe even you may have even announced that recently, but I know it was exclusive to you guys, and I think that's good for anybody, whether the man's at home or not. Even 2 pairs of work boots out there. Goodwill needs the money, and the price is always right. So a couple of jackets, and most thieves probably will think twice about if they see those work boots out there and a jacket or 2 lying around. Always a good thing.
I tell people to put on their windows, beware of dog.
Yeah. I knew a lady that actually got a helmet, old beat up work helmet, and she put killer on the front of it.
I also got to bring in a Yoda dote. Yoda has an incredible Yoda dote about it's something more than beware of dog. What was the Yoda dote you have?
I think it's out of Strikers, Texas. It said, "Don't worry about the dog, beware of owner."
Yeah. That's the one. That is we've got a treasure trove of Yoda dotes and backpack dotes. So it's great.
Oh,
we're running into a new one here now. Picture a crucifix necklace. Looks just like a cross that ladies and a lot of men wear here. It's actually a handcuff key.
Oh, really?
So we're running into that quite a bit now, that kind of stuff, yeah. I'll send you guys a book that displays about 100 things like the handcuff key and a crucifix. We don't want that out to the public, of course. What a pair we've got on tonight following Mrs. Schlafly.
Yeah, this has been a great show. Wonderful. Guys are always welcome to call in. And one thing we have to say to Stryker, we do want to hear updates on how your golf company is going. We really are excited, and our audience wants to hear.
Well, thank you. We will definitely be providing those as we're invited onto the program, and we will be very, very quick to provide those updates. We're very excited about the things that we're doing in CT and IC and also golf, and that goes without saying. Maybe even more so than that, we're excited about what's happening with Leading Edge Radio and the wonderful people that we've had a chance to meet because of it. And here is a shining example of the three people that we've met because of it. So on my best day, I could only hope to meet folks like you guys.
We want to congratulate you and Annie for making it on Top Talk Radio directory. You're up there now with Limbaugh and Hannity and like that. So we want to congratulate you on your appearance on that directory. We spoke with the CEO today, and he's doing a lead article on your new network, Stryker.
Well, thank you. That is a huge honor.
Under his masthead, he's going to do it. I don't know where the time went. We've got 5 minutes, and this shuts us down like a light switch.
Yeah, Annie, could you speak to what are some of the things going on in Southern Sense, some of the guests you've got coming up, and how are things going with the network?
Oh, man, it's blasting off, and I'm blessed to have such a great audience. And honestly, I can't tell you numbers because I'm in 8 different markets, and they don't always tell me what I'm doing. But it's blasting off. Matter of fact, we'll be back live on Tuesday. We do Tuesdays and Fridays from 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and you can find me at southern-sense.com. But I've got Michael Loftus. He has the TV show The Flip Side, and he will be my guest. He is a fantastic. He's a comedian, a writer, talk show host. He was the one behind Mad Men, and we'll have fun.
That's great. One of the things, we've all been honored and privileged. We have had many of the similar guests. We've had Frank Salvato, Captain Marshall Frank,
right?
Michael Connolly. I think we've all shared that. We're excited to have Michael Connolly, who is a constitutional lawyer. He's done a lot of incredible things from the great state of Texas.
United Justice Foundation. He's awesome.
Stryker, what should we take away about the network, the new, going to be thriving network?
As far as the new network for law enforcement and military, I think the thing that people will be able to take away from that is that in addition to the fact that it is going to be divinely unique, it will be the place to go, most particularly for those in law enforcement, in the intelligence community, and those who deal specifically with counterterrorism. Now, the other part of that audience, I mean, we could seal this off and make it military and law enforcement only, subscription only. The only way you could get in is if you met one of those criteria. We might, and I want to talk to the three of you about this sometime off air, to whether or not we want to allow an inner circle of qualified, vetted people who maybe they haven't had experience in any of these arenas, but they are patriots through and through, and they promise to do more than eat Krispy Kreme donuts and watch the news and yell, hooray, hooray, backpack Yoda, Stryker and Annie are making it happen, you know?
Maybe have it closed, the law enforcement mill, and have one day a week open to that kind of public. Just an idea.
Absolutely, sir. Absolutely. I'm open to that. We can always use that.
Been great.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure. Stryker, Leading Edge Radio Network, and southern-sense.com. We're excited. Thank you. God bless, and have a great weekend.